Hi, everybody. This is day 1341, and looks like we might just be burning some midnight oil. Um, so much is happening, and we're not, so much is happening behind the scenes that we're not at liberty to say. And I think that that causes some confusion out there. And it's so sad that we're at this point where we're being watched so carefully um, that we're not at liberty to say some of the things going on behind the scenes because of saboteurs, absolute saboteurs. So um, I'm going to try to explain things as well as I can and as carefully as I can. I see that I'm on. Um, and the real important parts of this case that we have to make sure that we don't get diverted from, because that's the tactic, is diversion. And you see that in Trump's case today. uh, well, and today meaning this time period, this election time period, and other the 2020 election, absolutely, which is absolutely involved with Richard's case because it's involved with what happened on August 3rd, 2019, the Walmart mass shooting. The Walmart mass shooting is very important because it was a diversion from the audits, from the arms audits that were going on. Richards, we believe, because of evidence that we have, that it was because, partly, because of Richards' whistleblowing. And, you know, not entirely, but partly, because we believe there were other whistleblowers at the time. And when the August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting happened, and that it's very important to get the date because the date is Dallas Hart's birthday. The date is in 2019, in August of 2019, and there was whistleblowing going on because there were audits going on, and there were audits going on even after the Walmart mass shooting. And we know that for a fact because of Brigadier General Stewart telling us, with the backup of Dirty Agent Marlon Soto, with the backup of Sean Bernabé, the three-star general, Major General Sean Bernabé, confirming that this is true, that there were weapons problems all over Fort Bliss, and that they weren't solved because we have article after article about the breach in the security there on Fort Bliss, that there was even an assault, a weapon laying in the middle of a road on Fort Bliss. Nobody knows, oh, where did that come from? Oh, there's an assault weapon. That we know from instances at the border where the trucks went through the wrong border and they got checked, and it was full of weapons and ammunition, a whole truckload, a whole what do you call those things? The movable storage units. So that was totally the tactical move storage units, full of arms and ammunition. So, this is not me saying that. This is article upon article, and problems with uh, the base not being secured, and that is backed up by Thomas Kane. Who's Thomas Kane? In a letter that we have, he is talking about Fort Bliss not being secured, and a lot of problems going on there. Well, he's not just nobody. He is the director of emergency services. He, um, at the time, was the chief of security for Fort Bliss. So um, he understood for years and years what was going on in the breach security of Fort Bliss. And, this is when the COVID was going on too. Um, they were bringing girls in. We heard that from the command sergeant major, Jake Jakovitz, that they were bringing girls in to party in the barracks. We know, we have confirmation now that those passes came from Thomas Kane, the director of emergency services. Um, you know, we know through the arrest that there was a 14-year-old girl living in the barracks being prostituted out for weeks and weeks there in the barracks on Fort Bliss. So thank you so much, Grace, for coming on. Thanks for your prayer. Thanks for your love. Thanks for the red balloons. So we know that there is a security issue on Fort Bliss, and that is where our focus needs to be. Because why is there a security problem? Securing our military installations. We give them all the money, we give them all the resources, and yet drugs are getting in, little girls are being pimped out, there is a pedophile problem, there is a sex cult problem, there is child pornography problem, there is a weapons, arms problem, and we also have information now and have it confirmed that there was a gunsmith up to no good. And so we're not at liberty to give you that name right now, but that is a huge security problem if they're going to have weapons and there's a weapons problem, and then they have a willing gunsmith to erase the serial numbers off of these weapons, or to manipulate, expand, turn a semi-automatic weapon into an automatic weapon, meet whatever the customers want, and then sell it across the border, right? When you have a willing gunsmith to do this, that's very, very concerning if you have an unsecured military installation with plenty of weapons to traffic out, to bring over to the border and cause a lot of problems over the border. And you see right now in Mexico, the death rate is just absolutely astronomical. So many people are getting hurt. And you see a lot of the human trafficking going on now, that of course child sex trafficking. And in 2022, this is not me saying any of this. This is all reports and putting it all together, and then you get this broader picture that our military installation does not have good leadership. It has failed leadership because we have an emergency intake center there that in those 2 years, 85,000 missing children under the leadership of Fort Bliss. How did that happen? How did that happen? You're supposed to have a secure military installation. And then here's Richard, when all this stuff, of course, the 85,000 missing children is not a new thing. Okay, this is something that I was corrected on, but that was after Richard. How could Richard whistleblow on children and stuff like that? No, there was stuff going on before then, right? Because the security problem on Fort Bliss has been happening for years. And so, of course, absolute whistleblower. And what they try to do to smear him, is to try to find any little thing wrong with him. And they really couldn't do it on their own. He was a stellar soldier, and so what they did is they framed him. They set him up, and of course, being young, to be framed, to be set up, uh, they just used this canine cop at midnight in a parking lot. Um, and the problem is that that traffic stop in a parking lot by canine cop, I think, is getting them in more and more trouble on top of all the other crimes that they've committed, because uh, the end of the day, Richard's case was dismissed. So there he is, a stellar soldier. His case was dismissed. And so if there was any question to it, I think Judge Alma Trejo, with political aspirations, she is now trying to become, she's holding a campaign to become the district attorney for El Paso County and two other counties, 34th, I think it's the 34th district. Um, so correct me where I'm wrong, but she is trying to become the DA there. And so, as a judge, she was um, with that in mind. So anytime you have those kind of things in mind, your judgments are going to be clean, because that can be used as ammo against you as you're running for these offices. So she absolutely exonerated Richard. The case was dismissed, and so they had nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing else there. There's nothing else there, and I can, we've looked and looked and looked. Why in the world would they do what they did to Richard? Destroy him, I mean, totally destroy him, and then which is a mental destruction too for a young man like that, right? And then to uh, uh, abduct him and murder him, torture him, murder him. Uh, yeah, the crimes are just so, it's so bad. It's so bad. And so why would they want to do that, right? And for us as Team Farm Richard Halliday, we know that he was a whistleblower, but the command has not put out a statement that he was a whistleblower, that he was whistleblowing. And they have done everything they possibly can, even in the big CID report that we were given, to cover up that he was a whistleblower, because that gives him a legal status. That gives him a very important legal status. And it also explains why he was under a security watch. And they tried to say that was for him getting in trouble or whatever, but he had been dismissed. He had been exonerated by then. You see, he wasn't under a 24-hour watch for that he was in trouble. That was already, I mean, how much do you want him to pay for it? He had already had gone through hell. So the 24-hour watch was because of his whistleblowing complaints, and the security detail that was supposed to be watching him, securing him, because we have information that he also was worried about his own safety. And of course, about his own safety, Glendon Oakley Jr. was just found dead in his barracks, right? Glendon Oakley Jr. was just found dead in his barracks for saying that on August 3rd, 2019. Now, this is me being a little bit suspicious here. I'm suspicious that he was found dead in his barracks room because he had said on August 3rd, 2019, that he saw mall cops with M4s, lots of mall cops with M4s. And now we received information that there were brown tip bullets at the scene. Brown tip bullets go with M4s, right? With the short barrel military weapon. And these are, unregistered bullets. Oh, how convenient. And also getting the information now that there is a gunsmith up to no good to erase on these weapons serial numbers so you can't trace those. This is all a huge organized uh, that is up to no good in every way that you can imagine. And so even if Richard was, let's say, on three of those things, he was blowing the whistle, because there was so much to blow the whistle on. There were so much, because in order to traffic weapons or traffic children or traffic narcotics, also do this child pornography, which is absolutely confirmed in her own statements that Dallas Hart was, looking for the child pornography, real quick when he got back from deployment. Let me go find it, because why was he worried about it? Because there were whistleblowers. So in order to have that kind of criminal activity, you have to also engage in the criminal activity of money laundering, because where are you going to put this money that you're making on all of these criminal activities? And so, of course, there's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse there. And the money laundering that you have to do, you have to go through LLCs, right? You have to go through LLCs, fake LLCs, to money launder. And, this is all the things that, behind the scenes we have to look into. And of course, Leilani Hart was getting her mail at Dreams Cabaret. And Dreams Cabaret, and you see now, it's not me saying it, but, it's all in the news that Jaguars was engaged in criminal activity. And you see it in the news that Dreams Cabaret also was engaged in criminal activity. And, and Leilani Hart's getting her mail there. And she's a convicted criminal, and not just any kind of convicted criminal. She's a convicted criminal lying to law enforcement authorities. She's a convicted criminal for getting arrested for breaking a restraining order. And then, of course, you have that complaint that she did about her own family. And you can say, okay, she's lying to law enforcement, but she's lying about her friend's child, 7-year-old child, who's active duty mother, is being raped in her master bedroom by multiple members of her household. She's, lying to law enforcement authorities about that. She's, lying with the help of Tavita Nusa. Okay, this is very, very important also to stay focused that this is with the help of Tavita Nusa, because he coached her so that she could not only have a CID case number, but that she also received an FBI case number. And, so all of these criminal charges against her family. And, because Dallas Hart was active duty, right? And her husband works at the VA on the health board for disability benefits. Very, very big job, and has access to very, very sensitive information. And so, these are the things that we have to remember all the time when it comes to this case. And of course, Veronica Escobar, who's the theme lately, Veronica Escobar, because she has oversight. So she has allowed the for Bliss to be open to have a security breach. She has allowed the generals to have a security breach on Fort Bliss where a 14-year-old girl was living in the barracks and being pimped out. Veronica Escobar has allowed Fort Bliss to have a security breach that all of these narcotics can come in and drug up our soldiers. And that the NCOs and that the generals could be a failed leadership allowing it to happen. She has failed to be oversight, and this is her job. We pay big money to make sure that our weapons are secure. But no, she allows a breach on Fort Bliss for the weapons to be trafficked, for the weapons to be smuggled, for the ammunition to be smuggled. And I even heard not only is it the ammunition, it's also hand grenades that have been breached. The security has breached and they've been smuggled and trafficked. But she's allowed children to not be protected, to go missing. Okay, this is Veronica Escobar's job. This is her area, and she's fought for this area because I think another representative wanted to share responsibility of oversight of Fort Bliss, and that didn't sit well with her. She wanted oversight. Well, she's overseeing the criminal network destroy our military institution, and she has been oversight of the failed leadership and allowed them to be a failed leadership. And she has allowed Richard to be forcibly removed from his barracks room, and then the sergeant, the first sergeant, the retired first sergeant, I should say, to say, oh well, we don't really look for AWOL soldiers. All the while, we have Vanessa Guillen situation happening. We have Gregory Morales situation happening. And Veronica Escobar is just allowing this criminal network to grow and to operate freely on Fort Bliss throughout the border. So, who is Veronica Escobar? That's she's not the representative of El Paso because, even though that's her title, she's not representing the people of El Paso. The people of El Paso don't want a breached military installation where all of this criminal activity is allowed to happen and so many of our soldiers are allowed to be hurt, right? Raped and murdered and, abducted and abused and just the abuse of power against our soldiers. So she absolutely, is not representing the people of El Paso. That's very clear. So who is she representing? Foreign and domestic enemies, right? Foreign and domestic enemies. So she's in the same kind of boat as these generals that are serving foreign and domestic enemies. And not doing their duty. Absolutely. And we're paying them. I think we need to get our money back. And then, of course, Veronica Escobar has now, in our case, she has a very sketchy, we're very suspicious of her because of the mountain up McKilligan Canyon that was attached to her, that lead. And we received a phone call the next day from her office saying, we didn't know that Mr. Halliday would do so good on that hike. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Explain that to us. We would like to know, what did you expect? What did you want to happen? So praise God that Rob is in good shape and could hike that treacherous, absolutely treacherous McKilligan's Canyon, where you have to use a chain to get up there. He said he feared for his life 3 times. Um, it was, and then they didn't even prepare him for that hike. But you know, Rob is be prepared, right? So he came prepared, and thank God that he did really well because they didn't expect him to do so well. Yeah, yeah. So we have a lot of suspicions since that day surrounding the intentions of Veronica Escobar, um, the foe of El Paso, and because she's sure not a friend. I want to let the El Paso people know this. Unless you're involved in criminal activity on Fort Bliss, um, she is not a friend. Not a friend. Okay. If you want a secure military installation, she's not a friend. If you want human trafficking to stop, um, she's not a friend. Okay. Uh, and this, you understand that her party, since she's a Democrat, really wants a lot of gun control, yet she does not take any action in her of oversight of Fort Bliss and the weapons smuggling and trafficking. She allows Fort Bliss to be an unsecured installation where weapons go missing all the time, are manipulated, are in the barracks illegally, all laying in the middle of the road. She allows that. Okay, so she does not compare. Con, con, that's all talk. Her talk about weapons control is all talk because absolutely she has allowed the unsecured Fort Bliss to remain so and have all kinds of weapons problems. So that is very, very clear. So she is not a friend of El Paso at all. And oh, I really want everyone to understand what we have learned during these almost 4 years. Um, then, of course, she has come up again with the appointment of Dr. Mario Raskin Ortiz. Um, so he's not an American citizen the last time we heard, maybe yesterday, I don't know, but he's not an American citizen at the time of appointment, which was 2014. And his record was very, very weak. Okay. So then the question is, if he doesn't have a good forensics experience, if he's like really, his experience or his education is more of um, medical management or something like this, right? Uh, it's why did they pick him for that position that is a judicial position? Okay, it's the part of the judicial branch of our government. He would have then the power to put out subpoenas and the power for warrants. And why would the El Paso County Commissioners, choose him? And who did they choose him over? Who else applied for that position? Because that position had remained unfilled for quite a while. And so why? Because that is a wanted job. Okay, that is you know people want that job, and they go to through a lot of schooling to be able to apply for jobs such as that. Yet he's not really prepared. Uh, his application is wanting, and then he is excluded from that job. You can't even consider him for that job because the Texas Constitution requires that for a judicial office like the chief medical examiner that he be an American citizen because of the powers that are granted to him as the chief medical examiner. They are, really massive powers, and there is a requirement for chief medical examiner that you are an American citizen. So since he was not and is not, the last time we've heard, he is disqualified for that job. So how did he get that job? And the presiding judge over that choice was Veronica Escobar. So okay, we know that she is no friend to El Paso. So she's no friend to in the choice of Mario Raskin Ortiz. Okay, that's very clear. So who is she a friend of? Is she a friend of him? Is she a family member? What is the connection between Mario Rascon, his family, her family? What is the connection? What is the conflict of interest? Who is she trying to please? What orders was she taking, if she was taking orders? Because absolutely he was disqualified. So if she was a judge at the time, so she can't say I didn't know the law. She absolutely knew the law. She absolutely can't say, oh, well, I overlooked the law, I didn't know the law. No, she was a judge. Okay, he was disqualified from such a very distinguished, powerful position, and she didn't care. She didn't care. She allowed him to breach the security of the Texas Constitution. Okay, so not only does she allow Fort Bliss to breach their security measures and allow them to freely engage in criminal activity, but she breached the Texas Constitution when she allowed the appointment of Mario Raskin Ortiz. This is very, very clear. Now you can, correct me where I'm wrong, but this is where our research, hard evidence, absolutely hard evidence, has led us. And why is this important? Because Mario Raskin Ortiz has handled Richard's remains. Okay, and we have been. This is where this is suspicious because we need to confirm it. And maybe, I shouldn't have said that because now the saboteurs might rush over to Chihuahua, Mexico and Juarez and say, don't let the Halliday families find out that Mario Raskin Ortiz was the medical examiner for Chihuahua, Mexico and Juarez. Because that is information that we received. And, that would be double dipping. Let's dip a little bit in El Paso, $500,000 worth, and then we'll dip over there in Chihuahua, Mexico, in Juarez. Or is there some kind of criminal element that is connecting? Because chief medical examiner over deceased bodies, over cases, he would have to be a witness, a key witness in many, many murder cases, including the August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting. Okay. He is a key witness in that mass shooting, and in many cases. So that is that is so problematic because no wonder the Walmart mass shooting case cannot move forward, because we know for a fact that Mario Rascon Ortiz handled the deceased bodies of the victims of the Walmart mass shooting. And he's not an American citizen. He's not a legitimate uh, chief medical examiner. It's really like the same situation that we have with DA Bill Hicks. That DA Bill Hicks is not a legitimate district attorney. And and I think that there's that's not me saying that. That is if you are researching the news articles that from very good reporters that are exposing these things. And if you're not following the Texas Constitution, then you're not legitimate. And the appointment of Mario Raskin Ortiz to chief medical examiner breached the safety of the Texas Constitution. And the appointment of DA Bill Hicks to, and I shouldn't say the appointment, but Bill Hicks and his oath of office, not signing, who is he fooling, right? Because he did not sign his anti-bribery statement, which is required by the Texas Constitution before you take your oath of office as a district attorney. And he did not do that. And so, that causes a lot of problems in all the cases, because they can use that to botch the case. And these cases are botched now. And, this is how you can destroy the Department of Justice by, these kind of tactics. So, these need to be answered, because why didn't the DA office let Richard's case move forward, right? Why didn't the DA office let the Walmart mass shooting case move forward? Those are the main cases, and that is where we should really focus our attention. And I think Veronica Escobar, the eye needs to be on her, because her job is the oversight to make sure that the Texas Constitution is not breached, that our military installations are not breached, the security of them. And they're both for the security of the land and the people. And, now we have all of this criminal activity, and I think you have her to thank for it. And I think, at this point, you will find out, because there's more, y'all. It gets demonic, okay? It gets demonic. And I'm trying to stay on a level where you will understand this legally, instead of going off on the really spiritual side of this, the spiritual dark side of this, the demonic side of this. Because, in order to do these crimes, there has to be a demonic side of it, right? Absolutely. So she absolutely should be, to me at this point, charged, absolutely charged and arrested. Because the evidence is not me saying this. The evidence is out there for anyone like someone like us in this situation, the normal person that's going to work and dealing with their children and their families and everything day to day, don't have time to put all these pieces together, a lot of them. And for us in this situation, this desperate situation to find our son, we've, we're asked by the CID to bring leads, to do the research, and this is what we have found. We have found the lack of oversight and intentional, malicious lack of oversight. And that is Veronica Escobar. And that is the command on Fort Bliss. And, and this is how these things happen. People say, how can these bad things happen? Malicious, lack of oversight by those that their duty is to command the well-being of our volunteer sons and daughters, and also to have oversight to make sure that the Constitution, the Texas Constitution, is followed. Sorry, I need to get a drink. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. I think that is really, really important. And that's where we need to focus everything. And all the other, there's so many diversions out there. They can call us names or whatever. But I am going to maintain what I have tried to be as authentic as possible, and try to stay as focused as possible and not go off on the tangents that they want us to go on to. But I will tell you this. They're making mistakes. And we're doing a lot behind the scenes. And as soon as we're at liberty to tell you more, we will do so right away. Because we love you. We appreciate you sticking with us for so long. And, and it's tough. It is so tough. So thank you for your prayers. We need a lot of prayers right now. And I think the people that, like Grace, like Anicia, who have seen it with their own eyes, what we have experienced, and understand what Richard has experienced, understand what we're up against. So thank you for your prayers. We need a lot of prayers. And we're coming into Holy Week. So, we're in this beautiful time of the year. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.